This is Valley News Live at 5.
Good evening, everyone. Weather is making for some tough driving conditions in the valley today. I-29 had to be shut down southbound from Grand Forks to Thompson because of several semis piled up on the road. Take a look. Then traffic was being diverted back onto the interstate at Thompson southbound because of a deadly crash on Highway 81. Officials say slow down, buckle up, and drive safe. Then earlier today, a woman has suffered serious injuries after being involved in a crash on I-29. That happened in Fargo near the 13th Avenue exit. According to North Dakota Highway Patrol, the woman then lost control of her car and ended up crashing into another car, then hitting a guardrail. The two people in that other vehicle weren't hurt. That crash remains under investigation. Road conditions are expected to worsen, so let's send things over to Valley News Team's Justin Betty with the latest. Justin?
All right, thanks, Stacey. And two quick changes. Justin, I-29 southbound was closed from Grand Forks to about Buxton. It's not showing up on this map yet, but we know that has now reopened. And I-29 northbound was closed just south of Hillsboro, from Gardner to Hillsboro. That has now just reopened. But as you can still see, looking at southeastern North Dakota, in fact, much of eastern North Dakota, this is all the no travel advisory, all this red and white. So no roads closed right now, but much of this is tricky because of the winds. As you switch over to Minnesota, it's a little better, but still tricky, especially out in the open areas. I-94, that kind of pinkish color, that's the completely covered roads. You're seeing the exclamation points. Those are crashed. I should mention that too on the North Dakota map. All these W's you see down here in extreme southeastern North Dakota, Fargo, West Fargo, down towards Oxbow. Those are all crashes. So there's a lot of mess out on the roads right now. Be safe if you have to travel anywhere. As for what the weather is doing the rest of tonight, here's Hutch with details.
Justin, thanks so much. Good evening, everyone. The wind is really picking up after this morning's round of snow. We continue to see snow across the area on a first alert weather day today. We turn our attention to, as we head into the next 24 hours to Wednesday and Thursday, significant system that will be seriously impactful. Many of these from this morning, 1.4 inches in Fargo, Grand Forks picking up about 4.5 inches of snow, and 5 in Fertile and Bagley. And our Minnesota and Northern Valley counties continue to see snow and have continued to see additional snow since this morning. Here's the radar, and a little area of snow moving through Polk County right now. I'm just scraping in the northern parts of the Becker County area. The snow has really been persistent in Grand Forks, sweeping across Polk County right now. So likely we have some more lofty snowfall totals in these areas. Visibility has really been compromised by these winds that have been gusting to over 50 miles per hour at times, particularly down to the south. Right now, Jamestown into the Sisseton Hills area, that's where the strength of the winds is the greatest. Also, that I-29 or 94 corridor through Lakes Country, very rough and tumble with numerous crashes there. Mighty cold air moving in now for tonight. Look at the wind ripping the flags out there at the Dakota Magic Casino. Fargo's planner showing single-digit temperatures below zero by late tonight. And we'll be closer to 10 below by the time we go to the morning hours in Grand Forks. Believe it or not, we have another round of snow for tomorrow on Tuesday. Then the main event Wednesday and the Thursday could bring feet of snow to the region. A lot of travel going on for state hockey and other things. We'll have the details in your forecast in a minute.
Yeah, going to be an interesting week. Thanks, Hutch. Ahead of the storm, some airlines are issuing travel waivers at the MSP airport. Delta announced their waiver is effective from today through Friday. Fare differences will be waived for tickets rebooked on or before February 27th. Southwest, Sun Country, and United all issued some kind of similar voucher with slightly different stipulations. Check with your airline for more information. In other news tonight, a man is on the run and law enforcement is asking for your help to find him after a fatal shooting at a bar last night. The Eddy County Sheriff's Department is looking for 45-year-old Nicholas Poitra. Authorities say he's a person of interest in a February 19th homicide at Rindy's Cheyenne Bar. Poitra is considered armed and extremely dangerous. Authorities urge you not to approach him. Instead, call 911 with information. He's described as a Native American, 6'3", 260 pounds with brown eyes and black hair. Further details on the shooting, including the victim and the circumstances surrounding, have yet to be released. A Moorhead man is in the Cass County Jail after allegedly kidnapping a woman in the early hours of Saturday morning. The way Fargo police caught him is bizarre. Police attempted to pull over 45-year-old Hector Flores for suspicious activity in the 300 block of Main Avenue. They say he tried to drive away, but a snowbank blocked him. Police say a woman was in the car and tried to get out but couldn't open the door because of that snowbank. Police say Flores had a gun and held the woman in a chokehold. They tased him while he was holding her. Flores was arrested for kidnapping and aggravated domestic violence as well as other charges. The victim was taken to a hospital for her injuries. Another person has been arrested after allegedly leading Fargo police on a pursuit in a stolen U-Haul, ultimately being arrested in Clay County. Fargo police say the pursuit started just after 5 last night in the 2100 block of Main Avenue, but officers stopped pursuing once the vehicle crossed state lines. Police have confirmed to Valley News Live at least one person was arrested after crashing that U-Haul. The Moorhead Police Department and Clay County Sheriff's Office assisted in the arrest. Stick with Valley News Live as we follow this developing story. President Biden made a surprise visit to Ukraine today, where he met with President Zelensky and offered more military and humanitarian aid, along with the pledge to stand with Ukraine as long as it takes. The visit has been in the making for months and comes amid this week's one-year anniversary of Russia's invasion. Jay Gray is in Poland and Drew Petrimo reports from Washington.
Air raid sirens blared as Presidents Biden and Zelensky walked the streets of Kyiv, the two men visiting the Wall of Remembrance that honors fallen Ukrainian soldiers.
I thought it was critical that there not be any doubt, none whatsoever, about U.S. support for Ukraine in their war against the brutal attack by Russia.
During the visit, President Biden announcing $500 million in new aid to Ukraine for ammunition, weapons, surveillance systems, and to bolster energy infrastructure that's been a constant target of Russian attacks.
American society, been from the very beginning of this tragedy, from the very beginning of this full-scale war, from the first days been together with us.
The president visiting a war zone required months of meticulous planning. NBC News correspondent Jay Gray is on the border of Ukraine and Poland with more on how the White House pulled it off.
And Drew, we're learning a lot more about the president's secret trip to Kyiv now. After the transatlantic flight on Air Force One, the White House says he took a 10-hour train ride to get to Ukraine. We also know from U.S. officials that there was coordination between the Kremlin and White House ahead of the president's trip. Russian media is reporting that President Putin himself guaranteed that there would be no strikes while President Biden was on the ground in Kyiv.
The visit comes just days before the one-year anniversary of the Russian invasion, and as Russia pushes forward with a grinding new offensive. Back at home, some far-right members of Congress criticizing the visit. But President Biden made a point to reassure Zelensky that bipartisan support for Ukraine remains strong. Drew Petrimo, NBC News, Washington.
Tomorrow, President Biden will give a speech in Poland where he's expected to rally international support for Ukraine. Also tomorrow, President Putin of Russia is expected to deliver a State of the Nation speech. A 6.3 magnitude earthquake hit the Syria-Turkey border today. It comes 2 weeks after the region was devastated by an earthquake that killed more than 40,000 people. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the quake was reportedly felt in Egypt and Lebanon as well. So far, 3 people have been killed and more than 200 are hurt. Across the border, Syrian civil defense says an unspecified number of people were hurt from falling stones, stampedes, or falls from buildings. Additionally, several uninhabited buildings cracked in multiple cities. The Supreme Court this week is set to hear back-to-back arguments that could reshape online speech and content. The cases are looking at whether tech platforms and social media companies can be sued for recommending content to their users. Justices will also look at lawsuits concerning the support of international terrorism by hosting terroristic content. A 30-year-old federal law is at the heart of the legal battle. Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act has repeatedly protected tech platforms from lawsuits over user-generated content. But it's come under scrutiny recently as companies like Twitter, Google, and Meta make decisions about content moderation. Rulings in the case are expected by the end of June. This President's Day, many people are sharing their thoughts and prayers for the nation's 39th Commander-in-Chief, Jimmy Carter. He's receiving hospice care at his home in Georgia. Mike Helgren is in the former president's hometown and spoke with those honoring his legacy.
Here at the Jimmy Carter National Historical Park in Plains, Georgia, we found admirers from near and far, all coming to honor the former president's legacy.
To me, I mean, he's my uncle, and I think he's the best.
Leanne Smith is President Carter's niece and lives in her Aunt Rosalind's childhood home. She says her uncle's impact is unmatched.
I think the peace and love for people, and you just want to know, is it going to continue, you know? At the level I think he promoted it.
The Historical Park and Museum at Carter's Old High School expects a high volume of visitors this particular President's Day, as the 98-year-old receives hospice care in his home.
He has led a good life. He has served his Lord, and as he says, he's ready to go. He's very peaceful about it.
Relatives say here around town you don't see one Carter without the other, referring to former First Lady Rosalind Carter at her husband's side for 76 years.
They have done so much for this town, for this state, for the country and the world.
Park Superintendent Jill Stuckey is a close friend of the Carters and expects the former president will remain tough until the end.
Never count him out. He is amazingly strong and resilient.
The Carter baton of loving service will ultimately pass to the next generations.
It's just time for us to step up.
Continuing a life of leading by example. Mike Helgren, CBS News, Plains, Georgia.
And a new immersive museum and additional upgrades are coming to the Lincoln Memorial. The National Park Service announced the project today. The new exhibit will be the base of the memorial known as the Undercroft. It includes new restrooms, a larger bookstore, and a refurbished elevator. The memorial will remain open to the public during the renovation. The current basement exhibit, though, will be closing to the public this spring.
8 million people go here every year. 8 million. It's one of the largest visitations of any national park site in the country.
Construction on the nearly $69 million project is expected to begin in March and be completed in 2026 in time for the 250th anniversary of American independence. Later on Valley News Live at 5, in our digital world, we'll tell you why more people are switching back to paper maps.
And fluffy, powdery snow blowing across the valley tonight. Now, the snowfall in much of eastern North Dakota has exited, but we do have, well, continued wind and snow across Minnesota. Get the latest on the Valley News Live weather app. Search VNL Weather in the App Store today. More snow Tuesday and a lot more snow Wednesday into Thursday. Your forecast next.